In the depths of Canada, among fog-shrouded farms and silences too heavy to bear, lived one of the most terrifying killers in modern history. His name was Robert Pickton, but few remember him as a simple farmer. To the world, he would be known as the Vancouver Butcher. Pickton was born and raised surrounded by animals, mud, and isolation. At first glance, he seemed ordinary, somewhat awkward, even shy. But behind that harmless facade lurked a silent monster. For more than 20 years, he turned his farm into a nightmare. There, he lured vulnerable women, mostly indigenous, sex workers, women living on the margins of society. He offered them parties, alcohol, drugs, and a temporary escape from the reality that trapped them. But those who crossed the rusted gates of Pickton's farm rarely were seen again. When police finally investigated his property, what they found was indescribable. Shoes, purses, clothes stained with blood, human remains hidden in freezers, and the most macabre discovery, DNA traces mixed with the food Pickton fed his pigs. 100 forensic archaeologists worked across that 4.5-hectare farm, unearthing not only bones but evidence of unimaginable cruelty. The DNA of 33 women was confirmed, but authorities suspected many more. In a rare slip, Pickton confessed to a cellmate who was secretly an undercover officer that he had killed at least 49. His goal, he said with chilling calm, was to reach 50 and then stop. In 1997, years before his arrest, one woman barely escaped, bleeding after being attacked on the farm. She reported Pickton, but the police dropped the charges, and terrified, she never testified again. That mistake cost dozens of lives. The trial came in 2007. The courtroom was packed with families, journalists, and onlookers trying to understand how a simple farmer had become one of Canada's most notorious serial killers. Pickton, sitting before the court, seemed lost, expressionless. He never admitted guilt. He listened to the testimonies with an almost bored air. And when the horrors of his crimes were recounted, his response was as cold as it was absurd. Oh, what a story. The prosecution formally charged him with only 6 murders. The reasoning was simple, yet controversial. Even if it was proven he had killed dozens, the sentence would still be life in prison. For the families, this was a betrayal. They wanted justice for each and every missing woman. And so Pickton was convicted, but never confessed in front of a judge, never apologized, and never showed remorse. Until the end, he defended his innocence, as if it had all been a grand lie invented against him. His life ended recently, in the same darkness in which he had lived. In 2024, while serving his sentence at the maximum security Port Cartier prison, he was brutally attacked by another inmate. What is known is that he fell into a coma, and days later he died at the age of 74. The man who had terrified an entire country, who fed his animals with the remains of his victims, who turned his farm into Canada's largest clandestine cemetery, died without revealing the full truth. How many were his victims really? Who were all the women who never came home? Perhaps those questions will never be answered. Robert Pickton will remain in history not only as a serial killer, but as a grim reminder of what happens when indifference and police negligence allow a monster to act in plain sight for decades. And in Vancouver's memory, his farm will forever be remembered as the Farm of Horrors. Subscribe for more real stories like this one.